Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today I'm very excited to present this red-white dwarf equipment deck with all of the additions from The Hobbit, starting by taking a look at some of our equipment. Of course, the Leyline Axe is very exciting if you have it in your opening hand, as it gets to start on the battlefield as an equipment giving +1/+1, a double strike and trample. 3 mana to equip is quite prohibitive, but we've got multiple ways to cheat on that equip cost. And then the Lava Spur Boots is another 4-off, 1 mana to play, 1 to equip, giving 1 extra power, haste, and a ward 1. So being able to consistently give our creatures haste is also very important, so we can keep up the pressure even after a board wipe happens. And then we've got a whole bunch of one-off equipment that we can then also later tutor up with Cloud Midgar Mercenary, which gets to find an equipment when it enters. And then as long as Cloud is equipped, if a triggered ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. And you would actually be surprised at how often that comes up. Even the Ward 1 on Lava Spur Boots triggers twice with Cloud in play, so our opponent will have to pay 2 mana if they successfully want to target our creature. And then our one-offs include Basilisk Collar, giving Death Touch and Lifelink for the aggro matchups. Skateboard is very similar to the Lava Spur Boots, can tap something down when it enters, foregoing the Ward 1. Then Chainsaw, a cheaper removal spell, dealing 3 when it enters, and then as more creatures die, it will rev up, giving the equipped creature additional power. The Buster Sword, of course, very iconic to pair with Cloud, can also maybe trigger twice, allowing us to draw 2 cards and put 2 cards from our hand onto the battlefield for free. And then the Hammer of Thor deals 4 when it enters, if we need to get rid of some bigger creature, and then the equipped creature now also doubles its damage output, and we've got plenty of worthy creatures in this deck. And then the Aether Spark as a Planeswalker can also be very nice in the slower matchups as something that's harder for the opponent to get rid of, and then it can give us additional +1 counters, draw extra cards, or make a ton of extra mana. And the Aether Spark also gains twice the amount of loyalty if we equip it onto Cloud, since that ability will also trigger twice. So that's most of the equipment taken care of, although the Iron Hills Blacksmith can generate an axe equipment token, so that's technically another equipment in the deck, so not a bad deal, especially considering that the Blacksmith is a dwarf, and we've got plenty of dwarf synergies throughout the deck as well, including one from Final Fantasy. Jot, King of the Dwarves, is a 1/1 double striking dwarf, and whenever Jot or another dwarf or equipment we control enters, we get to discard a card. If we do, draw a card. So this can even trigger twice if we cast the Blacksmith afterwards, once from the dwarf and then once again from the equipment entering. Then a Dane's Company is another nice source of card advantage in this archetype, a 2/2 that has a lifelink as long as we control another dwarf, and then when it enters we get to look at the top 4 cards of our library, we get to reveal a dwarf or equipment card from among them and put it into our hand. So the hit rate in this deck is very high, so we can usually find at least 1 card to put into our hand. And then Dwalin, Weapon Master, has also been quite impressive as I've been playing the deck more. A 2 mana, 2/1 with First Strike. Whenever Dwalin enters or attacks, we get to put a Hone counter on each equipment we control. So it's kind of the first time we're seeing counters apply to equipment specifically, and then with every Hone counter on an equipment, it will give 1 additional power to the equipped creature. So this can get out of hand incredibly quickly. Of course, also scales very nicely with Double Strike from Leyline Axe and on some of our other creatures. So the sooner we get to play Dwalin and start attacking with it, the better. We've got many ways to give it haste right away, so it can maybe even Hone twice on the same turn where we cast it. And then rounding out the deck, we've got a bunch of ways to make it easier to equip our various cards. At 1 mana, there's a Dwarven Mauler, a 2/1, saying equip abilities we activate that target it cost 2 less to activate. So a lot of our equipment can now be attached for free onto it. Leyline Axe is only 1 mana, so this card has been awesome as well. And then Akili the Resourceful is another very important addition for the archetype, a 2 mana 1/2 with a new storied mechanic. So if we control 3 or more artifacts, legendaries and or sagas at any point, we have an enduring story for the rest of the game. So that's similar to the City's Blessing, where it doesn't go away when Keely dies or if at some point we no longer meet the condition. And as long as we have an enduring story, we get to pay 0 mana rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability we activate each turn. So that's a great way to equip a Leyline Axe for free, potentially as early as turn 2. And then whenever another dwarf or equipment we control enters, we also get to draw a card that only triggers once each turn, so even more card advantage. And finally, 2 copies of Raban, which is not a dwarf, but still has great synergy in any equipment deck. A 2/2 that when it attacks lets us attach up to 1 target equipment we control to target attacking creature. It's another great way to equip our Leyline Axe for free. And then the mana base needs to have access to a lot of white mana to support the double white Cloud on turn 2, so we can't afford to have too many mountains in the deck. In fact, just one Lonely Mountain, which is another nice mana sink in the controlling matchups as a way to generate additional 2/2 dwarf tokens, becomes easier to activate the more equipment we control, so it can also be quite cheap to activate later in the game. And otherwise a lot of red-white dual lands. The only land we will lose with the upcoming rotation is Inspiring Vantage, and then the only other main deck card we lose is Lavaspur Boots from Thunder Junction, but that can pretty easily be replaced with additional copies of Skateboard, so the deck is not going to lose much with rotation, but yeah, let's find out if it's worth crafting in the first place. So let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand, although it is missing equipment. Cloud can find something, and then at 4 mana there's the Aether Spark. But it's not the preferred start where we get to play 1 mana equipment into Dwalin and kind of snowball those Hone counters. Opponent a blue-red. So what do we like? Could go for Jots and then start drawing and discarding. Cloud probably wants to get Boots for haste, but I'm not entirely sure yet what our opponent is playing. Could be control, could be a prowess deck, in which case I may want removal. So I think Jots first makes sense. And then Raban, maybe something I want to discard. Or Dwalin, since we're just light on equipment right now, as much as I like the card. Alright, Keeley was a nice draw. So we can go Keeley and then draw discard with Jots. Ideally find another equipment. Or a 1 mana dwarf could trigger Keeley as well. They do seem to have some interaction. Could be Spell Snare or Burst Lightning. And then yeah, Raban might be the discard here. Alright, perfect. So Mauler would trigger Keeley to draw a card. And then we can still draw discard with Jots afterwards, or discard draw, I should say. Ooh, opponent with a fire magic, so gets the 2-for-1. A Leyline Axe is pretty good with Keeley, although I can always get another one with Cloud. Yeah, this is a close call. Could just stay put and decline. Let's do that. Now a tablet. If I play Axe, I wouldn't be able to equip it for free just yet. Opponent with another sweeper, so their control deck is definitely geared towards beating, I'm not sure what, the Green Badger mold decks that are banned. So, yeah, this turn Cloud can get a haste equipment and equip. And then next turn Aether Spark is pretty nice on Cloud as well. And then we want Boots over the Skateboard. But yeah, if our opponent has yet another removal spell out of creatures, which was kind of the fear with keeping a Leyline Axe instead of digging towards another creature here. They've got the white mana, so next turn we could see Jeskai Revelation. Although for now Aether Spark looks pretty good. Triggers twice with Cloud's ability, so we can get more loyalty. Opponent still had an Erode, but the ward also triggers twice, although they can pay for it. And get a Plains, and then pass a turn. And yeah, sadly out of creatures here. So I can basically lose the Aether Spark to draw 2. If our opponent is holding Revelation, we probably lose anyway. Could also plus and then next turn draw 2. In the meantime, just play a Leyline Axe. Untapped land here so we can pay for no more lies. That resolves. Yeah, I'll try and keep the Aether Spark in play for a turn. No end of turn Revelation at least. Alright, Dwalin was a decent pickup. Now I think I will draw before they remove the Aether Spark. Find a Mauler. So I can go Mauler, equip Boots for free, equip Axe for 1 mana, see if there's a response, and then still play Dwalin afterwards. So this is free. So yeah, maybe going for Dwalin still makes sense. Although if they're holding another fire magic, I don't necessarily want to play another creature into it. So maybe I do just attack with what I have. Because fire magic, they would be able to deal even 3 to each creature at instant speed. So potentially leaving some damage on the table by not honing first. Alright, opponent takes 8. Yeah, I think we still hang on to Dwalin in case they're just holding a sorcery speed sweeper. And then next turn we can still maybe cross the finish line. Our opponent had flashback on Revelation, which I guess they milled with a tablet earlier. That's pretty good. So they're bouncing the Leyline Axe, taking out the Aether Spark. And now Day of Judgment to wipe the board. So if Dwalin can stick the landing, we're still in good shape. So I can go Axe, Dwalin, equip Boots for 1 mana. That works. Wouldn't be able to equip the axe right now, but we do get to hone a second time. So now any creature off the top is amazing. Would even be happy to draw my Lonely Mountain, which can make dwarf tokens. This is the matchup for it, and yeah, opponent just has to throw in the towel. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Get to start with a free Leyline Axe, Boots for haste, Raban to equip the axe for free. And then Cloud can search up whatever we want. Facing blue-black. So if I go for Raban now, I wouldn't be able to make use of the ability right away. So really hoping for a land so I can play Raban, give it haste, and then equip axe for free. So we'll maybe start with Dane's Company. And find a color since we already have an axe. We'll see if our opponent keeps up interaction. It is a Sultai deck, so it could be the Graveyard combo deck, as we see the Overlord. Alright, so then the matchup is all about speed. Getting our opponent dead as quickly as possible. So then Raban with haste and a Leyline Axe is a good way to start. I don't have to put axe on Raban himself, but I think it makes sense because it has more power, has that built-in ward. Now they could have the Saga and destroy the equipment instead of the creature. We'll see. Just a Kiora, if that's acceptable. So now with Death Touch, I can force 1 extra damage through, since we only need to assign 1 to the blocker, but Dwalin was an epic top deck. So play Dwalin, hone, and give it haste. Attack, honing again. And then I could move the boots back to Raban, or the axe onto Dwalin. I guess Dwalin deserves it. So that's now 8 power, trample, double strike on turn 4. And our opponent's very much dead. So yeah, going underneath the Superior Spider-Man Reanimator deck. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a functional hand. It's missing some 1-mana equipment, but Cloud can get one. And then we can play a grindy game with Dane's Company. And Jot can help us draw this card, even triggers multiple times with Blacksmith. Alright, Boots is a turn late, but still a welcome addition. So against turn 1 Swamp, Dane's Company makes sense to me. And find a lot of great options, Dwalin or Keeley. Both are great. Currently, Dwalin might be slightly better since the Boots and the Axe token from Blacksmith can be honed, whereas Keeley doesn't have a Leyline Axe to go with it. And we already have Jot as kind of a source of card advantage, or at least card selection. So then next turn we probably want to go Boots plus Blacksmith. Opponent keeps up a bunch of mana. Yeah, I think we wait on Dwalin until we get more equipment in play. And we'll see if they want to answer the Company, but it already provided some card advantage. Opponent does shoot the lifelinker. Okay. Opponent still keeping up mana. So I could wait another turn on Dwalin until I can maybe play and immediately attack with haste to hone twice, which may be worth it. And then for now, I could just play another Dane's Company, see what we get, maybe play Cloud afterwards. Or I could go Jot into Dane's Company for even more selection. I don't exactly know what I want to get with Cloud yet. Already have haste. Maybe we do eventually want to get something bigger. But once we have more mana, Cloud's going to become a more appealing option. So I'll start with a Company. Don't want to spend too much mana equipping my stuff when our opponents can still remove my creature. So yeah, Chainsaw and Leyline Axe are both reasonable. I think I grab the Leyline Axe just to give me something powerful as a top end. And Cloud can always get Chainsaw if I really want. So yeah, interesting spot. Maybe start with Jot. So had I played Jot first, we would have gotten a bunch more triggers, but my hand's pretty solid, so there's not much I would have wanted to discard. I could still get rid of the Leyline Axe if we think it's too expensive, since I don't have a way to equip it for free at the moment. And then it also makes more sense to grab the axe and discard it, rather than the one-off Chainsaw, in case we want to search it up. Pretty happy with the Boots, so then I can maybe play that before playing Dwalin. Opponent does appear to be mono-black control. So a Sweeper could be incoming next turn, or even this turn with Day of the Black Sun. So then I don't necessarily want to add more creatures to the board. But yeah, that's where especially honed equipment can still give us a great follow-up. So yeah, I think we do not overextend. Can play another Boots, which will trigger Jot. Can maybe discard the Vantage. Find another one. And then let's start equipping. The double strikers want extra power. If they remove it in response so they don't have to pay the wards, then we can equip something afterwards. Alright, River Turn Monument, so it's actually a blue-black mill deck. So control with a mill win condition. Good to know. So I'll equip the Blacksmith once again. They could still have a 1-mana answer in response. Otherwise they're taking 8. But I'm really just waiting to set up Dwalin to potentially attack for lethal in one hit. Opponent does appear to be collecting evidence here for a deadly cover-up. There's no Dwalin in the graveyard. They can maybe get rid of the company. So if I play Dwalin, everything is honed. Then I can equip 2 pairs of boots. So we're going to be 1 damage short here. But now all my equipment are awesome. So we can pretty easily get the job done with any creature. So the boots now doubly honed, and our opponent's just gonna lose to their own starting town. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Nothing special, but seems functional enough. Facing turn 1 plains. Can start with a boots, or we can start with a mauler. But yeah, I like the boots in play. Can always give the mauler haste for free with the boots at some point. And I see it's the mono-white aura deck with the Avengers. So they've got a bit of a hero sub-theme as well. Yeah, the aura matchup could be tough, because Sheltered by Ghosts especially is very good against us. So, turn 2. Could go for Cloud and already get a removal spell, like Chainsaw. Could just play Dane's Company and see what else we get. Or Mauler for haste, but that's not very efficient here, even if I can play Skateboard alongside it. You know what, I think Cloud makes some amount of sense. So that if they do present a creature next turn, I can already answer it. And Jennifer Walters into the Agents. So it's a much more focused hero deck than I imagined. But they still have some enchantments. Okay, so Chainsaw the Agents. And then hope they don't have Sheltered by Ghosts for Jennifer. Now I can still play the Dwarf, or we can equip Cloud. Either way, we're not attacking here. Yeah, let's just play Mauler. Could have played the Skateboards and then tapped Jennifer to attack for 2, but that didn't seem all that impressive. Take 4. And the Sentry, interesting. So they've got a 5/5 Flying Vigilance Indestructible. We've got a 5/5 Flying Indestructible that has to attack each turn, so they can kind of block it for free while hitting us for 5 each turn. Let's see if maybe Dane's Company can find an answer. If we can give this a Leyline Axe, for instance, we can still attack past the Sentry. Find a Jot for some draw discard. I think I prefer over the Blacksmith. Although we are running out of time to find an answer. I mean, this is not a bad turn for Skateboard, to be fair, since I would be able to tap down the sentry and attack. So that's also a consideration. Yeah, you know what? Let's go Skateboard, tap your sentry, equip Dane's Company, so we gain some life back. Bonus at 7. And I could move something onto the Mauler. Doesn't seem necessary. Seam Rip, okay. Answers a token. Good synergy with the sentry. But now they have to keep Jennifer on defense. And Dwalin was a great draw. So options aplenty. Opponent has 2 blockers at 7 life. And we're dying in basically 2 attacks. So can I go wide enough this turn? So these would all hone. Chainsaw would go up to 2 extra power. Yeah, I don't think we're sneaking in lethal right now. So then I might be better off going for Jots into Dwalin, so we get some extra card selection. Although, to be fair, Raban could also be useful to equip something like a Chainsaw for free next turn. But now let's go for Jot first. Finds Keeley. That's a good one too. Can play Keeley. Discard Raban. Find another Keeley. And then now I could equip Chainsaw for free. We're basically planning for a big attack next turn. Probably put it on Jots. And then, for now, pass a turn. They can activate the temple, that's fine. Take 6. But then with Dwalin, especially with haste, we should be able to figure it out. And get to draw off Keeley, then discard draw with Jots. Got too many Keeleys. That's just a land. Making use of Keeley's free equip, I guess doesn't really matter. And yeah, our opponent knows that they're dead. Just to do the math here, so, and give it haste. Attack all out, all my equipment are honed. So they're gonna block Dane's Company and Jots, since those are representing the most damage. But then we still get in for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total, which is more than enough. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have lots of creatures, no equipment, but Cloud can search one up. So, yeah, this seems fine for now. The blacksmith also makes an axe token, so that's technically an equipment as well. Turn 1 Mauler. So what do we want to play on turn 2? Facing a black-red. So this could be the Mardu discard deck. So don't necessarily want to expose Keeley to removal before we get to draw a card with it. Could just go for a blacksmith and then I can already equip the Mauler. That seems reasonable. Even though playing the blacksmith with Jot in play would let us trigger Jot twice. Once with the dwarf and once again with the equipment. And then pass a turn. So especially if we draw a 1-mana equipment, going for Keeley and then immediately drawing a card would be nice. Emberheart Challenger was a bit unexpected, so it is a more aggressive deck, not necessarily Mardu discard. I'll trade for a Challenger, I think. because that's the type of card that can get out of hand. Alright, so this turn could also go for Cloud, get like a Basilisk Collar if we're worried about needing to gain some life. And then I can already equip the Mauler. Yeah, that's not unreasonable. Otherwise there's the Hammer of Thor, which I can play next turn if we need to finish off Cecil, for instance. That's also a consideration. Getting 1 haste equipment would be useful. There's a Collar. If I go for Collar, opponent falls to 11, next turn Cecil transforms. But yeah, I think we'll manage. Alright, opponent's gonna plot a Slick Shots and play a Scorn Mage. So yeah, it is more of a aggro fling deck. So Cecil will transform, opponent does fall to 9 here. And then now I can go Keeley into Jot. We'll get to draw off Keeley and then draw discard with Jot. Don't think we need another Dwarven Mauler necessarily. Although I guess it gives me more stuff to maybe trade for Cecil. Alright, Dwallin's a nice draw. So then Mauler can attack and I can use Keeley's free equip to move the Collar onto another creature afterwards. So we keep up the pressure. They might trade for the Scorn Mage. We go up to 21, and then I want to Collar onto my double striker. So we have a good block on Cecil. Let's see if they have some removal here. Wild Ride, alright. If they have another Pump Spell and a Sellsword, we could be dead. So yeah, Slick Shots at 11 power, can attack and then be sacrificed for another 13. But our opponent's just gonna Wild Ride again. We're down to 5. And we get to untap, but now our opponent seems very much dead. Can play Dwalin. Get a bunch of triggers. And then equip the axe, which is now also honed onto Jot, and attack for lethal. Alright, sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a functional hand. Turn 1 boots. Turn 2, maybe start with Raban. Opponent blue-red. Does that change my play at all? Yeah, Raban next turn can equip the axe token from Blacksmith, perhaps. Can give the Blacksmith haste. So this Jeskai control, presumably. Or 4-color. Opponent's just gonna Helix now. And then play Blacksmith, equip the boots, and hit for 4. Aether Spark could be decent against control as long as we have creatures to equip. So that's now the main fear, but we actually drew the Lonely Mountain. So that can also supply more creature tokens. Opponent taps out for Stock Up. So this is a perfect window for the Aether Spark. Having a way to give our creatures haste repeatedly is great. Opponent's not going to have an easy way to remove the boots. And Leyline Axe is going to be more impressive once we can equip it right away. So we'll hit for 6. And Aether Spark up to 11 loyalty, so it can generate 10 mana if we needed to. So let's say they just wipe the board here. Well, I guess their opponent does not want to play anymore. So yeah, equipment can be very resilient and effective against the various control strategies. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. This is a very interesting hand with double Leyline Axe, which I can equip for just 1 mana onto the Dwarven Mauler. If my Mauler gets answered, I am out of creatures until I maybe activate the Lonely Mountain. So you know what, let's try it. Get Chainsaw for a bit of interaction. Get to even play the mountain untapped on turn 1, thanks to a Leyline Axe. The second axe, admittedly, less important than the first. But still, definitely want both in play. Opponent blue-white. Not sure yet which variant, and luckily did draw another creature here, in case the Mauler gets answered. Opponent plays a land and passes. So if they're holding up a counter spell, I'm better off just double equipping the Mauler. Small chance this is the artifact deck, and they could have a Saw Blades, which could deal 5 to a tapped creature, which could take out Mauler if I double equip. So for now, let's test out the waters with Dane's Company. That resolved pretty swiftly. Find a backup Mauler. Yeah, I think I should attack. No Saw Blades. But maybe a Star Cage, yep, to wipe the board. Still get to keep the Leyline Axe at least. So this turn, I guess we just play more creatures out. Maybe look for a haste equipment. Keely's pretty good too. Yeah, Star Cage is the main card we're afraid of in this matchup. And then of course if they hit United Battlefront for multiple artifacts, they can also pull ahead, as we see here. But yeah, Star Cage being an answer to all our 1 and 2 mana equipment is problematic, and of course answers all our creatures as well. Okay, Authority and Bricks, so not the most impressive Battlefront I've ever seen. So how do we proceed from here? If I Buster Sword, I can equip it onto the Mauler for free. I wish I could equip the Leyline Axe before attacking as well, alongside Buster Sword. I can put Keely in play for free and then equip Leyline Axe, but that's second main. Yeah, let's go Buster Sword still, since it seems too good to pass up. Attack for 7. Get to draw and cast something for free. Okay, the boots makes some amount of sense. Question is, if they play another Star Cage, what's the best sequence? I guess we want to keep the hasty boots for later. Maybe for now play another Dane's Company. And then Keely can equip Leyline Axe for free as well next turn as a nice follow-up. If we draw land, I can even go Keely, play boots, give it haste, and equip a Leyline Axe. So, yeah, let's go for a Company. I guess the Authority makes the haste plan a little bit less effective, admittedly. But Aether Spark looks good. Or we could go for Jots if we want more threats. Yeah, if they have another Star Cage here, I guess I would rather have Jots. But Aether Spark also seems pretty good here. Because I can also play it for free with the Buster Sword. Alright, so just don't Star Cage me. Alright, repurposing Bay can get a Star Cage, sadly. So then we lose all our creatures. Still have Keely. And now a Blacksmith as well. So if I go Keely into boots, at least I'll still draw a card here. And then Leyline Axe is the most expensive to equip normally. Although boots giving ward 1 could also be relevant. I think we still equip the axe. So the game goes on. Opponent now has Repurposing Bay. And this is where the authority is relevant when we're trying to give our creatures haste. Perilous Snare, likely going for a creature. But they're still not getting their synthesizer going to pull ahead. The relic does give them fodder for Repurposing Bay, so that's a problem. Alright, I mean, Dwalin honing all our equipment is pretty awesome here. So we can maybe get that going. And then I can equip the boots just for the ward 1. Do they get a third Star Cage? Or do they finally get a synthesizer going? There's a synthesizer, so they might have more answers in hand. Their token could certainly outcompete our equipped creature at some point. Repurposing Bay makes a token, can sack a 3-drop to get a 4-drop. Fire Crystal for haste, but we're not dead yet. Opponent hits for 8, has an 8/8 on defense. And that's another Leyline Axe. So what can I come up with? 3 mana to equip a Leyline Axe is pretty pricey, but would give it Trample and +2 power, and then once we hone, we get to trigger it a whole bunch more. I mean, it seems like the only play I have here, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Yeah, it's a shame. Opponents with a double Star Cage. They're actually forced to chump here, and they still take 8. So if I had 1 more mana to equip Buster Swords, this would have given it 5 additional power, and our opponent would have been dead. So just drawing an untapped land here would have done it. And yeah, now Repurposing Bay will certainly get there. Opponent also had the Saw Blades, can pay the ward. Yeah, still very close game, despite double Star Cage. GG's. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a Leyline Axe in our opener with Keely, so sign me up. And then the Lonely Mountain doesn't help us cast Cloud, but does give us a nice late game activation, especially in the more controlling matchups. Can start with Dane's Company, and then maybe turn after Keely, equip the axe for free. Opponent on Lizards, alright. Which land to play is also kind of interesting. I guess we could go for the Mountain. And find the Blacksmith just to have more equipment. Deep Cavern Bat probably wants to take Keely. But then Cloud could get a chainsaw to eventually answer the bat. Opponent actually goes for Cloud. Draw a color. So then this turn is going to be Keely. Equip the axe for free. I guess we first need to get Storied going. And then now we can equip for free. Opponent falls to 14. Dane's company also picked up lifelink since we control another dwarf. So yeah, pretty powerful third turn, considering they even got to have a look with a Deep Cavern Bat. So there's a Lizard. Flame Cache Gecko makes 2 mana, and now a Valley Flamecaller, enhancing damage from Lizard sources. Okay, so how do we want to proceed? Start with a Blacksmith, see what we draw. Find a Buster Sword. So this turn I could equip one thing for free, and then another thing maybe paying 2 mana. If we want to go all in on Dane's Company, for instance. Could also play the Lava Spur Boots, and then I can pay 1 mana to equip the Blacksmith, and then we can still equip the Collar onto it for free, or the Axe. All these options are reasonable. Yeah, I guess I don't mind getting more aggressive here. With no blocks, our opponent would take 12. And next turn, the Buster Sword, especially on the Trampler, is looking good. We're at 31, so should not be in any danger. Fireglass Mentor, a source of card advantage for the Lizards. And no blocks. They only have the Rockface Village untapped, which doesn't cast a removal spell. They did eventually find Gav. Okay, so kick things off with a Buster Sword, but yeah, opponent's already way too far behind. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a triple Leyline Axe opener. I mean, how often do you get a chance to play this hand out? Keely to equip one at a time for free. Cloud to get another equipment. Let's see what happens. So we're already storied. Opponent does have their own Lava Spur Boots, so another equipment deck. And Dwalin the draw. So we get to play Dwalin, and then next turn equip Leyline Axe for free after having honed all of them twice. Pinnacle Emissary, alright, so it's more of an artifact deck than an equipment deck. Opponent stationing the lamp ship. That's fine. Stations again. So coast is clear, land is useful. So I mean, it's still gonna be Keely here. Could have also paid full price for equipping a Leyline Axe. Attack, hone again, so this is stun damage. And yeah, it's only gonna keep increasing from here. So yeah, Leyline Axe certainly spices up your opening hands. Can lead to some pretty exciting games. For good or for bad, sometimes you keep a hand with Leyline Axe even if the rest of it is kind of shaky, because you know the potential of a Leyline Axe, especially when paired with Keely. In other formats, you can also add Colossus Hammer into the mix. But yeah, you'll have to play Pioneer to make that happen. Emissary's back, but I don't see how that's stopping this assault. So I get to equip Axe for free. Cloud could even get another equipment and suit it up. Something to give Cloud haste. And a skateboard could even tap down the lamp ship. Draw off Keely. Equip Cloud. And this is a lot of damage. That's only first strike damage, another 15 coming across here on turn 4. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have just the one creature, but some pretty good equipment to go alongside it. So I'll give it a shot, and then hopefully we'll find a second creature at some point. Especially the company stringing together more cards is going to be useful, because then we have more things to cheat out with the Buster Sword. Turn 1, I actually think we should just play the boots, so that we don't expose the Mauler to removal. Next turn we can equip this for free anyway. I see opponent a sacrifice deck with a Gorehound. Cloud was a useful draw. So against a sacrifice deck, getting some form of evasion like Trample could be useful. Could also get Chainsaw to take out some key creatures. So yeah, definitely Cloud over Mauler here. And yeah, Chainsaw or Leyline Axe. The problem with Leyline Axe is that it's still 4 mana to play and 1 mana to equip the Mauler. So it's kind of pricey. So maybe go for a Chainsaw first. Infestation Sage. Can leave behind multiple chum blockers. And they milled the new Belladonna Took. Alright, there's the Dane's Company I was talking about. So, don't necessarily want to attack right now. Chainsaw can wait for better targets. So let's play the Company. And Keeley looks useful. Play the boots. Versus, we can also equip the Company to attack for 2. And if they double block, I'm happy. So this would be an attack for 3, in fact. Opponent just jumps, so they may already have a Raise the Past in hand to get all their creatures back. And yeah, eventually finding a Leyline Axe is going to be important, but for now Sephiroth also needs answering. So hoping to draw a land, so we can double spell Keeley plus Chainsaw, perfect. And then I even get to equip the Chainsaw for free. Although, does that make sense? I guess we just put it on Dane's Company, because Cloud doesn't want to attack here. Gorehound chumps, so they certainly plan to Raise the Past next turn. At least the Chainsaw revs up. Alright, it's going to be the Sackville Bagginses first, into a Zealot. What's next for me? Still missing Trample, so could go digging with another Company to try and find Leyline Axe, since we also get to draw off Keeley. Yeah, that seems fine. Should have maybe drawn first and then decided. In case we naturally drew the axe, I didn't have to grab another. But that worked out. And then we still have some options here with a Mauler as well. Cannot quite play Buster Sword anymore. Play Mauler. Can equip the Chainsaw onto it for free. Although keeping it on the lifelinker I guess makes more sense. And then sure, I'll still play the boots. Can equip that for free onto Mauler. It would make use of Keeley's ability, so if we do want to move an equipment onto another creature we could do that. So I guess yeah, move the other boots for free onto the other Dane's Company. And then the boots, thanks to the Mauler's discount, also gets to equip for free. But important that we don't waste Keeley's free equip. And then now... Your opponent's going to be trading because they have a Raise the Past, most likely. But I think that's still fine. Because next turn we have the Leyline Axe incoming. So we can stack up a bunch of equipment onto the same creature. There was an argument for Chainsaw on Cloud, so it would trigger multiple times. I think that's how it works. But yeah, there's the Raise the Past. Opponent gets their creatures back. But we have a Leyline Axe plus Keeley to equip it for free. Chainsaw is also going to rev up. And then a lifelinking creature is a good recipient of all these equipment. Another Gorehound. And a Skateboard could also tap something down. But yeah, start with a Leyline Axe. And draw off Keeley, find a replacement copy. So Axe is free. And then I can add another Boots on top of it. So we get one more power. That seems more relevant than Skateboard tapping something down. And then we're gaining 10 life. And Chainsaw keeps revving up. Yeah, this is certainly the matchup where Chainsaw gets to shine. Because of Trample, they didn't actually soak up the attack. So we still hit for 10. Would love to find a dwarf that hones onto our equipment, since that would represent a lot of damage. Opponent still churning through the deck, looking for another Raise the Past. Possible they already have one. Chainsaw up to 7. There's a chance that they have some instant speed removal in hand as well. But yeah, maybe start with Buster Sword. And then I can pay 2 to equip this for free. Find the Aether Spark. Yeah, I'll make them have the instant speed removal here. This seems more fun. Although we probably already had lethal without the Buster Sword, so could have saved myself 2 mana and maybe played something second main. But if this works, we get to trigger Buster Sword twice as well. Although I guess our opponent dies on the first strike hit. And there we go, awesome. And we even get to rank up here. Sweet. So yeah, this red-white equipment deck is no joke. Feels like we finally have a playable equipment deck in Standard after all these years. The deck isn't perfect, it's still vulnerable to specific interaction like the Pinnacle Star Cage out of the Artifact deck, as we were able to see. The deck also doesn't have any instant speed removal itself, so other fast creature combo decks can potentially go underneath us with Slick Shots getting pumped and maybe flung by the Sellsword. You know the deck I'm talking about. So those all seem like tough matchups. The mono-white Aura deck is also not going to be the easiest because Sheltered by Ghosts is a problem card. But at least in 6 months, a lot of those problematic matchups go away, while most of the deck will remain in Standard. So outside of maybe a slightly worse red-white mana base, this equipment deck seems to be able to stick around for quite some time. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.